Hello, and welcome to Communities and Schools of North Texas. We are so glad that you are joining our community of support and cannot wait to plug you in with one or more of our amazing students. Your volunteering this semester will give you valuable experience working in schools directly with students, while giving our students the additional help and attention they need to succeed. This electronic training will take you through everything you need to know in order to make your service learning field experience a great one, so please pay close attention. From start to finish, this orientation will take about 40 minutes and will be followed with a required quiz that will take about 10 to 15 minutes. If you have any questions throughout, please write them down and there will be an email that you can use to submit them at the end. Or you can request that we call you to discuss further. There are 3 quick steps to CISNT's volunteer onboarding process. 1. View this orientation video and complete the accompanying quiz linked in the description below. 2. Submit the volunteer application linked on your class's Canvas. 3. Start your criminal background check through Sterling Volunteers. We will have Sterling Volunteers send you an email invitation to do this after you have finished the orientation and application. We'll cover important things to keep in mind and watch out for with the application and background check at the end of this presentation. But note that all 3 of these steps must be completed before you can receive your campus assignment. Processing your application, orientation quiz, and background check does take time. However, we want you to have as much time as possible to complete your required volunteer hours. So finish the application and viewing the orientation by 12 p.m. on Wednesday, January 22nd. And finish submitting your background check by 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, January 22nd, to receive your campus placement by or on Friday, January 31st. Completing steps late or failing to submit all the required information on your application or orientation will delay your placement. The mission of Communities and Schools of North Texas is to surround students with a community of support, empowering them to stay in school and achieve in life. Section 1 will serve as an overview for CISNT, defining who we are, who we serve, how we serve them, and how your volunteering this semester will fit in with CISNT's overall mission. It's important for all our volunteers to know that when they join the Communities and Schools of North Texas family, they are becoming a part of a national movement to empower students to promote each year and eventually graduate with a plan for their future. Communities and Schools is the nation's largest dropout prevention program with over 187 affiliates, empowering 1.3 million students nationally. CIS of North Texas is our local affiliate, serving 6 school districts in Denton and Wise counties with 47 programs. We were founded 26 years ago in 1993, and at that time had only 8 programs. We have loved growing with our community and look forward to continued growth in years to come. Here you see a list of all of our school campuses served by CISNT, listed by school district. Some of these schools have an in-school case management program, some have an ACE after-school program, and some have both. Whether you've already completed your class's volunteer application or not, you should take a look at this list to see which schools you think would be a best fit for you, and note them so that you can choose them on your app or contact our volunteer department to have us change your application for you. So what is the difference between these programs? Both the CISNT in-school case management program and the CISNT ACE after-school program are centered around dropout prevention. They are simply implemented to address different sets of needs and at different times of the day. The in-school case management program runs throughout the school day and follows a case management model. Students are referred, assessed, and served based on their individual needs. These services include, but are not limited to, parental involvement, supportive guidance and counseling, academic support and tutoring, mentoring, and social service support such as clothes, food, and school supplies. Student progress is monitored throughout the year, and a final assessment to monitor improvement is done at the end of the school year. We have 37 in-school case management programs located in all 6 of the school districts that we are contracted with. We have programs in all of the listed campuses in Bridgeport ISD, Northwest ISD, Little Elm ISD, and Louisville ISD, as well as in 9 of the 12 schools that we serve in Denton ISD. The After School Centers on Education, or ACE, program runs for 3 hours after school each day. In addition to providing a healthy snack and a safe place to be until parents are off work, the ACE program focuses on academic success by implementing homework help, tutoring, and hands-on learning experiences. The program also prioritizes social-emotional learning and enrichment opportunities in the form of individual and group supportive guidance, as well as clubs that focus on art, music, dance, sports, and more. The ACE program is a great place for volunteers who wish to plug in as an academic or enrichment coach to work in small groups with our students. We operate 10 ACE programs in Denton and Louisville ISD at the following campuses. All CISNT programs are offered to qualifying students and families free of charge. So why dropout prevention? Why is this a need in our schools and communities? Students who drop out are less likely to gain and keep employment after the age of 18. They are more likely to be incarcerated, more likely to rely on government assistance, and more likely to pass the dropout cycle on to their own children. Simply put, dropping out of school is not just a school problem, but a community problem, as it ultimately poses extra costs and labor for our society. Our goal at CISNT is to help raise a generation of students who are able to graduate with a plan for their future so that they can be a contributing member of our community as an adult. Their future is our future. Our service model places a full-time, degreed CISNT site coordinator inside each school to provide wraparound services to 80 to 100 of the school's most at-risk students, helping to remove barriers to their education. And the good news is that our programs work. For the last 5 years, CISNT has been 99.5% effective at keeping our students in school and on track for graduation. So how do we decide what students need our services? Well, first of all, we do not decide it alone. Our CISNT site coordinators work every day on their campus with administrators, counselors, and teachers to ensure that those most in need receive intervention. When we say that we serve at-risk students, this means that we work with students that the Texas Education Agency, or TEA, has identified as a dropout risk. To qualify, students must meet one or more of these listed 14 criteria. Those in bold on this slide are ones that we at CISNT see most often across our districts. 1. Retained a grade level. This means that the student was held back a grade at some point in their educational career. 2. Are in grades 7 through 12 and are currently or were failing 2 or more core subjects during this school year or the previous school year. 3 and 4. Failed either the STAR test or the state readiness test. This qualifier is sometimes hard for our volunteers, as these tests are often viewed in a negative light. However, there are some grade levels where students will not be promoted without passing these tests, and seniors will not graduate without passing them. Therefore, opinions aside, it's important for us to help our students navigate them. 5. Pregnant or parenting students. This is a qualifier for all students, regardless of gender, not just the mother. 6. Placed in an alternative education program, or AEP, this school year or during the previous school year. 7. Expelled from school during this school year or the previous school year. 8. Any official criminal history that resulted in parole, probation, deferred prosecution, or other conditional release. 9. Has previously been qualified as a dropout. 10. Is of limited English proficiency, or LEP. This is one that we see a lot. We want to assure you that if you are not bilingual, we will not place you with a student who you cannot communicate with. For the most part, our LEP and ESL, or English as a Second Language, students do great with conversational English, but really struggle with reading and writing in the English language. The good news is that this is something you as a volunteer can help with. 11. Has Department of Family and Protective Services, or DFPS, family involvement. Note that DFPS was previously known as Child Protective Services, or CPS. 12. Is homeless. This is also one that we see a lot. For many of our teens in the 7 high schools we work with, this simply means that they are not in the care of their parent or guardian and are couch surfing, bunking with a friend or family member, or on the street. For families who are homeless together, this may mean that they are doubled up with another family, in an extended day hotel, or in their car or on the street. The most important thing to note about educational homelessness is that it centers around the student's stability. If their roof is not stable, then it is very hard for them to remain stable in their educational pursuits. At the end of this PowerPoint, you will be given a list of resources that includes the McKinney-Vento Act, which defines educational homelessness. If you would like to learn more about how students are qualified as educationally homeless and what districts do to help them, this is a great resource for you. 13. Has been placed in a residential treatment facility. 14. Has been incarcerated themselves or has a parent or guardian who has been incarcerated. We do work with a multitude of students whose guardians are currently or have been previously incarcerated, so this is another one that affects many of our students. You may notice that there is not a socioeconomic qualifier on this list. That is correct. CISNT serves students of all socioeconomic statuses. While poverty is often intertwined with some of this listed at-risk criteria, it is not in and of itself a qualifier for CISNT services. Access to the TEA website will be given in the resource section at the end for those who wish to learn more about any of the above criteria. Here we see some of the key services that are provided through the CISNT site coordinator to the students in our programs. Those in red are specific services that you, as a volunteer, may contribute to in your time with us. First, those in blue. Family engagement. Our site coordinators work hard to get our students' families involved in their education. This may be as simple as providing translation services so that parents can have conferences with their student's teacher, or just being the safe staff member that a parent feels they can speak to about their student's school performance or behavior. We also hold a myriad of parent events throughout the year that focus on family education and engagement. Basic needs. CISNT provides basic needs support to program students as well as other students in need throughout the school, in the form of school supplies, clothing, hygiene products, and food, as well as referrals and connections with other local agencies where parents can get other types of needed assistance like rent or utilities help, legal aid, or job search assistance. Mental health. We are proud to house a mobile mental health coordinator who is a licensed mental health provider to provide intensive mental health services in all of our case management programs, as well as provide mental health training to our site coordinators as a whole. Behavioral interventions. Interventions are provided by both the before-mentioned mental health coordinator as well as the campus site coordinator. Our staff utilize evidence-based intervention and prevention strategies to address behavioral concerns so that students can better learn about school. Now for the red. Mentors. Mentors are volunteers who dedicate their time to one of our 4,600 students and provide both academic and emotional support by simply walking alongside them during their educational career. It sounds simple because it is. However, it is also one of the most statistically impactful services a student can receive. Quality mentor relationships result in students being more likely to graduate, more likely to have the motivation to succeed in school, and less likely to be truant or engage in risky behaviors like drugs and alcohol. Supportive guidance. This is provided by both CISNT staff and CISNT volunteers. Supportive guidance is the provision of emotional support. Many of our students show up each day having experienced a tumultuous home life that can distract from their learning. Having a trusted adult to talk to is key to their success. College and career prep. Believe it or not, we start this as early as kindergarten. Studies show that children who have a goal that they are working toward, even if it's an abstract one, do better in school and have less behavioral problems. Volunteers are encouraged to ask the student or students that they work with in our programs what they want to be when they grow up and/or where they want to go to college or trade school. These can be abstract dreams when the student is little and should be encouraged to become more realistic and achievable as they age into middle and high school. Enrichment. This involves extracurricular activities like games, sports, and art that help to further engage our students in their education. Volunteers who apply to be enrichment coaches may lead a soccer group, conduct an art club, start a music group, or do something else depending on their area of strength and passion. Academic support. Academic support is provided by all CISNT staff and volunteers. While some academic support may look like actual tutoring or assignment completion help, sometimes it's as simple as a mentor checking in with the site coordinator each time they come to see how their students' grades are, and then following up with the student on any concerns or praising them for doing well. Many of our students are not held accountable for their grades at home, and sometimes just having a trusted adult checking in on them gives them the motivation to do well. Academic coaching and tutors. This takes academic support a step further by utilizing qualified volunteers to provide more intensive academic assistance in core subjects. We will go into the differences between volunteers who are academic coaches and those who are tutors on the next slide. CISNT offers a variety of intentional volunteer opportunities that are designed to best serve the students in our programs. I will give you a brief overview here because we would love to have you continue volunteering once you've completed your class requirements. You can also review all the various options on our website at cisnt.org/volunteer for more details. Mentor. As mentioned on the previous slide, mentors work with one student to form a trusting relationship that is based on mutual respect. We have two options, individual mentoring and leadership group mentoring. Individual mentoring is a weekly commitment and involves a one-on-one match that takes place at the school on a day and time each week that works both for you and the student you are placed with. Matches are made intentionally based on yours and the student's interests and personalities. Leadership group mentoring is a twice-a-month commitment that utilizes a group-based model that still implements the statistically impactful one-to-one matching. Students identified for leadership groups are targeted specifically to help develop needed positive leadership skills. Groups are typically run by the site coordinator every week. However, one of these groups is a luncheon wherein the mentors join their students. Luncheons are held the same day of the month for consistency. For example, the first Tuesday, the third Wednesday, or similar. Leadership group mentors are then encouraged to come one additional time each month outside of the luncheon to meet individually with their students to encourage the growth of their relationship. Academic coaches. Academic coaches are qualified to provide academic support in the form of homework or classwork guidance and general tutoring and assistance. Most of our academic coaches are service learning education students just like you. However, we welcome community members who have educational backgrounds or other qualifiers that would allow them to serve in this capacity. A new opportunity that we have this school year falls under our academic coach option and is called Reading Buddies. Studies show that students who are not on target for reading objectives by 3rd grade and 7th grade often have struggles with reading and writing beyond school age. As CISNT Reading Buddies, you can change this by reading with a small group of our students, simply helping them to follow along, pick out sight words, and overall get excited about reading. Enrichment coaches. Enrichment coaches are also often service learning students, but also consist of many community members who are simply eager to serve in groups. This option is mostly only available in our after-school programs. However, if you wish to serve in the case management program in this capacity, we would be happy to talk with you more about how to do that. Enrichment coaches can implement sports clubs, art, music, or dance groups, provide college or career prep or support, and much more. If you have an idea, tell us, and we probably have a school for you. Guidance coach. Guidance coach is a role for licensed mental health professionals to provide social-emotional learning support. To see if you qualify and to get more details, visit our website. Tutors. Tutors are certified teachers who serve in our after-school programs by providing individual or group tutoring to students. One more great opportunity we have for those looking to gain a larger hands-on experience working with vulnerable populations of students is our AmeriCorps member program. Our AmeriCorps members provide services to our students directly under the supervision of our site coordinators. They have their own caseload of students that they meet one-on-one with, and they are given the opportunity to co-facilitate a group that focuses on addressing student needs. Other experiences our AmeriCorps members get are the opportunity to develop and implement social-emotional learning curriculum and activities, and attend professional development workshops and seminars. At the end of their service, our AmeriCorps members are eligible for an education stipend from the federal government that can be used for future schooling costs or for paying back student loans. AmeriCorps members serve either 350 or 450 hours. For more information, you can contact Gabrielle Bowling at gbowling@cisnt.org. Section 2, the Code of Conduct. CISNT appreciates your interest in donating your time to help our students succeed. In order to continue to achieve the outstanding results our programs produce, we respectfully request that you take this volunteer position as seriously as any effort you would be financially compensated for. As an agency, we work with a vulnerable population of students. This is why it is essential that we ensure that the volunteers we place in their lives are consistent, well-trained, and follow best practice models to ensure our students' health and well-being. In this section, we will read to you our 18 policies and will elaborate on each. Please pay special attention to this section as it will be extensively covered in the quiz at the end. Because our students are vulnerable, we want to make sure that our volunteers are making a positive impact in their lives and don't affect them negatively. This is why we have our Code of Conduct. 1. Honor your commitment. A schedule will be established with your CISNT site coordinator that will allow you ample time to complete your required volunteer hours and should be adhered to. Please be dependable and on time. Contact your site coordinator if you need to miss or reschedule, if you are running late, or if your availability changes throughout the semester. This should be a rare occasion. Please be aware that chronic tardiness or missed meetings will be addressed with your site coordinator and may result in termination. Additionally, should you wait to reach out to your site coordinator until the end of the semester, we cannot guarantee that you will be able to complete your hours, so make sure to respond to their emails in a timely manner. Should you need to end your volunteer role prematurely, you will need to discuss the termination process with your site coordinator. This policy is particularly important because our students often lead inconsistent lives at home. Whether you are a mentor, tutor, or coach, your dependability is crucial to ensure that our students do not feel as though they have been abandoned. 2. Sign in and out. Sign in at the school main office when you arrive to volunteer, and sign out when you are finished volunteering for the day, unless otherwise directed by your site coordinator. Please note that this may not be necessary in the ACE after-school programs, but be sure to ask your site coordinator. Additionally, all volunteers are required to log their time on a CISNT sign-in sheet. Your site coordinator will show you where these are kept and what you need to record on them. This sign-in sheet will be your proof to your professor that you are completing your hours, so it is very important that you fill it out every time you come and that you take a picture of it at the end of each month for your backup documentation. 3. Follow the dress code. All CISNT volunteers must follow the dress code of the school that they are placed at. Additionally, all volunteers should dress and speak kid-friendly, as volunteers are role models to our students as well as representative of the CISNT program on campus. Please be advised that the site coordinator reserves the right to ask you to leave if you are inappropriately dressed, or if you are behaving inappropriately. If you have any questions about the school's dress code, like how long shirts and skirts need to be, how wide the straps on sleeveless shirts need to be, or what the campus's policies are regarding tattoos and facial piercings, speak with your site coordinator. 4. Remain in sight of CISNT or school employees. The site coordinator will show you the designated area on campus where you are allowed to volunteer. This may be the cafeteria, library, CIS office, or another supervised space on campus. All volunteer activities must take place in the rooms with open doors, on school grounds, and in sight of school personnel or CISNT staff. 5. Volunteer on school campus only. Students must remain on the school campus and should not intentionally interact with volunteers off campus. Exceptions may include activities that are promoted through the school or CISNT, such as an approved field trip or an extracurricular activity. Should you wish to participate in a school or CISNT-sponsored event, you must first clear it with your site coordinator. A few things to note here. Sometimes you may run into your students somewhere out in the community. It is absolutely okay for you to say hi and speak with each other in these instances. The main clarification is simply that you should not be purposefully setting times to meet your student outside of school, as this is prohibited. If you already know your student through a community means such as church or your neighborhood, please communicate this with your site coordinator as soon as you know. Finally, we offer campus-based volunteering because we are a school-based program and our volunteers are a part of our overall goal to engage our students in their education. You may be one of the only things that your student or students enjoy about their school day, and you may be the key to helping them unlock motivation to learn and to enjoy school more. 6. Be respectful of differences. CISNT serves a diverse population of students, and we are proud to employ a diverse staff as well. It is very likely that you and your students will have cultural, social, political, and/or religious differences. Please be respectful and inclusive. Reach out to your site coordinator if you are struggling. 7. Be mindful of financial differences. Do not talk with your student about financial status and be mindful of personal sharing. It is important to remember that the majority of our students reside in poverty, so speaking about your new car or recent vacation could set up a disconnect between yourself and the student you are working with. As we stated earlier, being of low socioeconomic status is not a qualifier for CISNT services. However, about 89% of our students are typically below the poverty line. 8. No soliciting or unapproved literature. The distribution of literature or academic materials that have not been approved or provided by CISNT is prohibited. This includes, but is not limited to, selling products, marketing of any kind, or referrals to outside agencies. Do not sell or market products to any students or school staff members that you encounter while volunteering with CISNT. One thing to note here. In general, academic supplies and/or craft materials are okay for you to bring with you, as long as they are approved by your site coordinator. Most of the time, fun activities like these are encouraged as they help to engage your student or students. 9. Refrain from gift giving. Volunteers are discouraged from giving students gifts or bringing food with them every time they come to volunteer. It is important that the relationship is about engaging students academically and emotionally, not about what the student is getting from you. That said, if you would like to provide an incentive or a special holiday present to your student, please keep the value under $10 and be sure to clear it with your site coordinator first. Don't, under any circumstances, ever give money or gift cards of any kind. And if your student demonstrates a lack of a basic need, like clothing or food, inform your site coordinator. Do not buy these items for them yourself. 10. Do not exchange personal information. Do not ever exchange personal contact information with your student or students. This includes, but is not limited to, phone numbers, email addresses, or social media info. All interactions must be on the assigned campus and under the supervision of CISNT. 11. Do not take pictures of students. Do not take pictures of any students while volunteering. The student or students that you are meeting with should also not take pictures of you. If you would like to take a selfie or post a picture of yourself, alone or with other volunteers, on social media to encourage volunteering, however, that is more than welcome. Be sure to check in or tag Communities and Schools of North Texas. Our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram handles will be provided at the end of this presentation for your reference. 12. Observe appropriate boundaries. Observe appropriate boundaries with your student, both physically and emotionally. Remember your role as a volunteer. You are here to provide support. However, you are not a counselor nor a parent. If you feel that these boundaries are being crossed by yourself or by your student, please talk with your site coordinator. Be advised that the site coordinator will point out any boundaries that they feel are being crossed as well. 13. Do not engage in physical confrontation. Any physical confrontation on campus is to be handled by staff members only. Volunteers who become involved or intervene in such a confrontation put both their safety and liability at risk. Please do not be alarmed, as this is a situation that is very unlikely to occur. Our volunteers are serving in controlled environments with lots of adult supervision, so fighting is an unlikely thing to happen. However, should it occur, for both your physical safety and for the sake of liability for yourself, you should not intervene and instead notify the nearest school employee or call 911. 14. Maintain student confidentiality. Treat all information about a child or family as strictly confidential. It is important to respect our students' right to share with who they want to share with. However, please be sure to share information, good or bad, with your site coordinator. You and the site coordinator are a team, and therefore you should not be withholding information from them about your student, ever. 15. Adhere to abstinence-only policies. CISNT contracted school districts practice abstinence-only sex education, as laid out in the Texas Education Code, Section 28.004. CISNT staff and volunteers are required to adhere to the same guidelines. Please let your site coordinator know if a student is participating in an activity that is not age appropriate. The volunteer should never bring up the subject of sex. If the student brings it up, the focus of the volunteer should be on listening, and the site coordinator should be notified before the volunteer leaves campus. 16. Do not engage in religious proselytizing. Federal law prohibits the establishing or sponsoring of any religion in public schools. All volunteer efforts with CISNT programs must be non-sectarian in nature. If your student asks you if you go to church or something similar, you are welcome to answer that honestly. Student-led conversations are generally okay. However, the volunteer should be cautious not to proselytize and should be focused on listening to the student instead of sharing their own beliefs. If you feel uncomfortable or are unsure if you can answer a question your child is asking, a great strategy is to turn the question back on them. Saying something like, "I don't know, what about you?" allows the student to speak freely and saves you from crossing any boundaries. 17. Maintain DFPS reporting requirements. Texas law requires any person who believes that a child is being abused, neglected, or exploited to report the circumstances to the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services at 1-800-252-5400 or www.txabusehotline.org. If you think a report may be needed, you must talk to your site coordinator before leaving campus. If you are unsure about whether or not something constitutes abuse or neglect, you must talk with your site coordinator the same day as the outcry. The site coordinator can help you determine if a report needs to be made. Please note that the site coordinator cannot make the report for you, as DFPS does not generally investigate secondhand information. However, the site coordinator will sit with you while you make the report to help guide you. 18. Adhere to policy if arrested. If you are arrested at any point while volunteering with CISNT, you must notify the CISNT Director of Volunteers, Amber Shattuck, at ashattuck@cisnt.org within 48 hours. Section 3. Working with CISNT students. In this section, we will cover a few topics that will help you to better understand the population of students you will be working with through communities and schools, as well as give you some pointers on how to best connect with them. We will end with some additional resources and some more information on other ways that you can get involved. If you haven't had the opportunity to watch Rita Pearson's TED Talk on student engagement and the importance of children having a champion, we encourage you to do so. You can find a link to this on the resource page. Rita says, every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists they become the best they can possibly be. We agree with Rita. You may remember number 6 in our volunteer code of conduct. Be respectful of differences. Here, we would like to talk about the most common differences that we see between our students and our volunteers, which is financial difference. If you haven't read Ruby Payne's books, A Framework for Understanding Poverty, or Bridges Out of Poverty, we strongly recommend both of them. Ruby Payne is a lifelong educator, and in her books, she identifies common characteristics of generational poverty versus generational middle class. As previously mentioned, the majority of our students are in families that are below the poverty line, and many of these families are from generational poverty, meaning that the family has been poor for generations. When placing our students who are in this situation with volunteers who are often themselves from generational middle class, there can sometimes be misunderstanding along the way. In reference to the table on your screen, in generational poverty, confrontation is often physical, and respect is given to those who physically defend themselves, their families, and their friends. It isn't uncommon for our students from generational poverty to grow up seeing their parents engage in physical fighting, or to be encouraged to engage in fighting themselves in order to stand up for their family. In contrast, in generational middle class, physical confrontation is very looked down upon, and confrontation is verbal in nature. This can be a very hard concept for some of our students to navigate, as their home life may encourage physical altercations, while their school life may result in punishment or even legal recourse should they choose to physically fight another student. Possessions. In generational poverty, possessions are typically your people. It is worse to steal someone's friend or girlfriend or boyfriend than it is to steal an inanimate object. The worst thing you can do is insult someone's friend or family member. Typically, if one of our students engages in a physical altercation, it is over a person, not a thing. In middle class, possessions are viewed as things that provide security. For example, owning a home or property, a reliable vehicle, etc. Money. In generational poverty, money is a rarity, and when it occurs, it should be spent and shared with others. This is where a lot of our volunteers may struggle with students whom they are working with and know struggle financially, but have high-priced items like an expensive phone or shoes, or even give their money away to friends or family. This is frustrating to middle-class volunteers because in middle class, money is meant to be managed well and saved if at all possible. While these differences are understandable, it's important for our future volunteers to understand where our students are coming from. While a phone may not seem like a reasonable purchase to you, the reality is when your family has been poor your entire life, and their family was poor before that, and their family before that, buying or not buying a phone wasn't really going to change anyone's standard of living. Time and education. These two are our favorites. They are our favorites because they are the two that our volunteers and our staff can really make an impact on. In middle class, future-oriented thinking is a given. Families are saving for homes, have college accounts for their children, and children are encouraged to think about what they want to do when they grow up, and are encouraged to pursue higher learning. In generational poverty, this is not the case. Time is about surviving the here and now, not focusing on the future, and higher learning is viewed as an abstract concept that affects other people. We want all our volunteers to help encourage our students to think about what they want to accomplish someday. Talk to them about their future and their plans. Help them to set realistic goals and work toward them. We firmly believe that education is the most valuable and accessible way that families can break out of poverty, and we at CISNT work every day to engage our kids in their education so that they can do just that. We are excited to have you join our team to promote educational engagement as well. The CISNT mission statement centers around student empowerment. We are empowering them to stay in school and achieve in life. So what does it mean to truly empower a student? Empowerment is the process by which we engage our students to develop the strengths and coping skills needed to interact well with the systems around them, even if we wish those systems were different. An example may be your student's neighborhood. While many of our students live in perfectly safe areas, many others do not. If your student is one of the latter, you may really wish that you could change that for them, but that isn't within your power. What you can do, though, is help talk them through how to survive and thrive in their neighborhood. Maybe they should be sure to be home by dark each evening, or maybe they should have a buddy to walk with to and from school. Your goal as a volunteer should be to help your student learn to thrive without you versus creating a dependency on you. If your student only does their homework on Thursdays when you come because you would hold their hand through it, then you are setting up a system where the student is being enabled instead of being empowered. If you are ever struggling in this area, please talk with your site coordinator for help. So what's your next step to get started? If you have not already done so, you need to complete the application provided in your course materials by no later than 12 p.m. on Wednesday, January 22nd, so that we can get you your background check invitation ASAP. Here are some things to keep in mind while filling out the application that will help you get started as quickly as possible. 1. Availability after 4 p.m. is limited to our ACE programs only. 2. Availability before 3 p.m. is limited to our traditional or daytime programs only. 3. Make sure to select only those campuses you are willing and able to go to consistently. Not all of our Denton campuses are near UNT, though we do have some campuses that are within walking and busing distance. Denton High School and Calhoun Middle School are within a 20-minute walk of campus. Evers Park Elementary is a 10-minute walk, and Strickland Middle School is a 20-minute walk from Stop 3, Discovery Park, on the UNT Discovery Park line. Rivera Elementary School is a 20-minute walk from Stop 2, westbound Hickory at City Hall, on DCTA Route 7. You can view a map of where all of our campuses are located on our website. The link to that page is provided here and on the reference slide at the end. If you have already completed your application but would like to make changes, please fill out the application changes Google form linked on your class's Canvas. After you have completed the application and passed the orientation quiz, we will have our background check company, Sterling Volunteers, send you an email invitation to start your criminal background check online. We will also send you step-by-step instructions on how to complete this process. In order to receive your official campus assignment by Friday, January 31st, you need to start your background check by Wednesday, January 22nd. Sterling Volunteers' invitation will contain a personalized link that you will need to start your background check. Please note that while Social Security number is a field, it is not a required one. It is completely up to you whether you choose to provide Sterling Volunteers with that information, but providing your Social Security number is recommended for faster processing time. Additionally, your background check is completely free. CISNT pays for all of our volunteers' background checks. However, Sterling Volunteers will ask you if you would like to purchase a Fast Pass or pay for your own background check. The Fast Pass is not needed for our background check and is useful only if you are volunteering for a lot of different organizations that require background checks. When Sterling Volunteers asks if you would like to pay for your background check, they are asking if you would like to and not telling you need to. CISNT greatly appreciates all of our volunteers who choose to pay for their background check, but does not expect anyone to do so. Upon clearance of your background check, CISNT will get you officially placed at a campus and introduce you to your site coordinator. Your site coordinator will then reach out to you by email to set up your campus introduction meeting. Follow us on social media to stay aware of agency events and goings-ons, as well as read heartwarming success stories about our amazing students throughout the school year. Here are the various resources that we spoke about throughout the orientation. Thank you so much for viewing Communities and Schools of North Texas's new volunteer orientation. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or if there's anything we can do for you throughout your volunteering. Take the quiz. The link for the quiz is provided in the video description below.